Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Now that I have graduated and I'm a little bit removed from college, plus I just have more time, I can finally sit down and answer the most commonly asked question that I get. I genuinely get it all the time. It's how did I get into a US college? For those that are new here, I am an Aussie that went to the University of Southern California, so USC in LA, straight from high school. I'm also a two-time Olympian for water polo. So I went mainly because of my sport, and this video I guess is directed at young athletes or the parents of young athletes or coaches or whatever that want a little bit of direction with how to go about that process, what to do, and a bit of tips as well on what to tell coaches, what to look for, things like that. From my experience, I can confidently say that it was the best decision of my life. When I was younger and I was kind of umming and ahhing, it was really scary and I was like flip-flopping between whether I should go or not, and looking back, I'm so glad I went. It changed the course of my life. I actually couldn't even imagine where I'd be right now if I didn't go to USC. Not only did it propel my water polo career and I just learned so much in the world of my sport, but also it gave me lifelong friends, so much life experience. It really helped me grow up and gave me a lot of independence. It also has boosted my career. The people I met over there and the networks and connections and genuinely just the things that I learned is actually next to none. Plus I just had the best time ever. So I'm such an advocate for it, and this is for anyone wanting to go down a similar route. I'm not sure what my background is looking like at the moment. I'm just in the living room. Here, let me give you a little... I'm using the nice natural light, so whatever's behind me, you'll survive. Throughout my channel, there are a bunch of videos that are just like vlogs and stuff of my experience at USC if you want to like look a bit deeper into it. But this video will basically just outline how I got into a US college, the process, the reasons why, how I made my choice, and some tips on how you can do the same. So to begin, I'm going to start with why I started looking at US college as an option for after high school. I can't lie, the biggest reason that I was compelled to go to a US college is for my water polo. I was doing the highest level training that I could in Sydney for a long time, and I still wasn't making the national team, and I knew that I needed like a switch up of training to get new experience, whatever, in the pool if I was ever going to make the national team and make the Olympics, because what I was doing in Sydney wasn't exactly working, or I wasn't really getting that much from it. So that was the main point of why I wanted to go. I played with two girls club at Sydney University, Arnie Esbar and Hannah Buckling. Hannah I went to the Tokyo Olympics with, and then Arnie, she's in the Spanish national team. Yes, she's one of the ones that beat us in the gold medal game in Paris. We got silver and then they got gold. They were both in my club team at Sydney University. They both put my name forward to the coach at the time, Jovan Babic, which basically opened up the doors for me and put it on my radar because I didn't really know what it was, but also was kind of a direct line into getting recruited. At that time, America was the powerhouse in the world at water polo. They were just unbeatable, and the collegiate system was a really, really high level system with great coaches and really amazing players that I knew I could learn a lot from playing with and against. My national team coach at the time actually did say to me that if I go, he would never pick me in the team, and I still got on that plane 2 weeks later, so props to 18-year-old Tilly for doing that, because regardless, I mean, he ended up picking me, so it was all talk, but regardless, if I stayed in Sydney, I definitely wouldn't have made the team because I didn't get all that experience. Now, I'm not saying that if you go to an American college, you're guaranteed to just like improve like that. I had a lot of raw talent, and Jovan, the coach at the time, saw a lot of potential in me, and he's a bloody good coach, and I really improved and learned a lot from him. So I think that's a big part of the reason for me. I was exposed to a new style of play. The Americans play very different, and honestly, their like film meetings and the way they analyze games and just like think about the game is very different to how we played in Australia at that time. So being exposed to just like a new style of play did wonders for me. Another reason why I was keen to go to a US college is just because of the life experience. I knew that in 50 years time, if I didn't go, I would look back and regret it majorly. I just think everyone after high school should get out and try live abroad somewhere or do something that's against the grain. I just learned so much, and I don't know, that's the number one thing that I encourage anyone to do, and if college is that route, then that's perfect. But I just like had the best time and gained so much life experience, and it was so scary going to a whole new country by myself, but it was so worth it. And I knew, even though I was umming and ahhing, like I knew that I would regret it if I didn't. So honestly, I just bit the bullet and did it. Fun fact about that too, I had a long-term boyfriend at the time as well, so like that was a big part playing into it, is that I knew like I would miss him and stuff. But you would actually be silly to turn down an opportunity for any boy, and 7 years later I'm still not turning down opportunities for boys, even if they are my soulmate. Just as a piece of life advice, I'm 24, I'm still so young, so if you're 18 like I was back then and you're holding yourself back for a boy or a girl, don't. The world has funny ways of working itself out, so if they're meant to be, they will be, and if not, then there's going to be something else there for you, and there's a reason why it wasn't meant to be. And also, nothing changes when you go abroad and come home again. Like, I was away for a total of 7 years, and I come back and like the same friends are still hanging out with the same people and going to the same clubs and bars and stuff. Nothing changes. Like, sure, you'll miss out on a lot of things, but you'll have a bajillion other things going on that it's whatever. And then when you come back, Sydney or wherever your home stays the same. So you're not going to miss out. If that's an issue for you, don't let it be, because you're going to have a billion other things going on for you, and life back at home honestly doesn't change that much. Okay, now I'm going to give some words of advice what to consider when you're choosing a school. My first thing is think holistically. You're not just choosing a school or a team, you're choosing your life for the next 4 years. So if you take your sport out of it, you still want to be really proud of that school and still have other things going on outside of the sport. You're also choosing a family for the next 4 years, like friends, also a future. Like if you get injured or something, or you decide you don't want to keep playing the sport anymore, what does that school offer you outside of your sport? So for example, at USC, I knew the family aspect is a really huge part of the school. I knew the girls would be amazing, and especially after like looking them up online, I knew that I like aligned with their values. They seem like my kind of people, and obviously USC is also a world-renowned, like a really prestigious school. So I knew if I took the water polo out of it, I would still be really happy there and would still be really proud to be a Trojan. Plus it's in California, so there's the beaches and the weather is similar to what I have at home here in Sydney, and that's the kind of lifestyle that I grew up around, and I knew that I would be happy there with the climate and the location. So if I took water polo out of the picture, I knew I would still be really happy at USC, and that's a big part of why I chose the school. My second tip is to talk to the current athletes or students that are already at the school. So the number one thing is that you'll need to be happy wherever you end up, and that's especially if you're an international student like me, moving the whole way across the world to go to this school where you'll pretty much have to start fresh with friends and safe spaces. You're diving into a whole new world, and you'll be training, traveling, studying, going to class, eating meals with these girls. So you have to like make sure that you like them or that you're going to connect with them. My advice is to reach out to current or past players that went to that school and genuinely just collect as much information as you can about all your different options of schools. So when I narrowed all my choices down to 3 schools, I pretty much reached out to people from each of those schools and asked them bajillion questions and really tried to suss out their vibe. I even like looked up a bunch of the girls on Instagram to kind of see their vibe on Insta and to see which ones I could connect with. And for me, it was like easily USC. I could just tell that they were my kind of people. Seems like we had the same humor and all that. I was so drawn to them, and I was bang on, because all this time later, they're still my best friends ever, and I had the best time because of all the girls there. And it's going to be different for everyone. Like the girls at the time when I was in college all shared my similar hobbies, but like the ones now might not. I don't know. So like suss it out. Every school will have the girls and the team changes. So like just suss out who you're going to be playing with. Just because the girls I went to school with were cool doesn't mean the ones that are there now are cool, even though I'm sure they are. Trojans are all cool. Okay, other things to suss out are academic support. So USC, you get free tutors if you're an athlete. Also, like my books were all paid for, study rooms, just the resources were really good for the students. Like they really want you to succeed outside of the classroom. They want you to succeed in the classroom and outside of the pool as well as inside of the pool. And there's like a million different resources that they offer, but I'm not sure if every school is like that. And if academics is really important to you, then suss that out. So ask the coaches when you have calls with them. Also the coaching staff. So a big reason why I went to USC is because of the coach at the time. He was like world renowned for being really tough and honestly really mean. Like the first thing he said to me is that this is literally day one, like our very first game. He said that he's gonna beat me down to such a low point that if I ever was to play a gold medal game at the Olympics, the worst thing in my life would be him and not like the crowd or the pressure and all that. And I mean, the funny thing is that 7 years later, I was in an Olympic final and he was actually at the pool, and I saw him like as I was walking out, and it did rattle me. But I love hard coaches, especially back then, maybe not as much anymore. But I knew I would thrive under like a really mean coach who would just like basically belittle me until I got really good. But not every person likes that style, and I wouldn't recommend it now for mental health reasons. But at the time, like I knew I was getting myself into that, so I was happy with that. If you're not one of those people, don't go to a school with a really tough coach. So consider that when you're choosing a school as well, and ask the coach a lot of questions and ask the girls, or watch footage, watch the games and see how the coach is on the sidelines and things like that. Like loving your coach is gonna be a big part of it. I kind of touched on this before, but career development for life after sport is also something important to suss out. I know most colleges in the US have a whole bunch of career fair opportunities. USC has got a huge networking program and they really make sure that the athletes take advantage of that. So that's important. I think honestly most schools do. I don't know, something to consider. And finally, my last tip is don't ignore your gut feeling. I narrowed it down to my last 3 schools and I wrote so many pros and cons lists for each of the schools, but ultimately my gut was telling me USC, and so that's what I went with, and thank God I did, because I don't think I would have thrived as much in the other 2 schools. And that was my gut. My head was telling me another school. My gut was telling me USC and I went with it. Your gut's never wrong. This sun is like slowly moving over and blinding me. So I'm moving over this way. Maybe I should just put the blind down. I'm gonna do that. Okay, that's better. Why didn't I do that before? Okay, now I'm going to give some tips on when you're reaching out to schools in the first place. So this is before the decision making, before you're tossing up which final school to go to. Like, this is actually getting your foot in the door and starting to talk to coaches. My first tip is to cast your net as wide as possible. There are so many colleges in the US. It would be so silly to narrow your opportunity only down to like 1 or 2, because those are the 1 or 2 that you want. Like, you could have a conversation with another school and be totally blown away by it and want that one. So don't limit yourself. Cast your net as wide as possible, because also if you don't get into the exact one that you want, at least then maybe you'll have a couple of other options as well. Even if you start with not wanting to go to that school at all, after you have a couple of conversations with the coaches, maybe you'll change your mind. My second tip is to include a highlight reel on your initial email. So if you're an international student, the only thing that coaches can really go off is like word of mouth if you don't have game footage, because where else are they going to see you play? Unless it's like a world championships or something that maybe a coach will go to watch, but still include a highlight reel. So like scrounge up as many clips as possible and just throw it together on iMovie. I made one and it was pathetic looking back. Like, I watched it the other day and it was so crap, but like I circled myself. I put a little circle around me in every single clip just to make it easy for them. The less work that the college coaches have to do, honestly, is better, especially for a sport like water polo. They don't have recruiters. The coach is the recruiter. And also make sure it's not just you scoring goals. Like, show that you're a good, well-rounded player if you are one. Include your steals and your blocks and your assists and things like that, because that stuff is very important in water polo. But when you're 13 years old, you think that the goals is what it's all about. So yeah, show that you're well-rounded. And my last tip is that if the coaches don't reply, email again. I have heard from my mum always that the squeaky wheel gets the oil, and I could not agree with that more in this situation. College coaches are so busy. They have so much going on for them, and usually they're really understaffed as well. So they could just be forgetting to get back to your email or whatever. There's a million different reasons, but if they don't reply, send some follow-ups. Just don't stop. I know it's embarrassing, but the squeaky wheel gets the oil. Okay, now that that's all done, this is some of the boring stuff with actually like applying to the university. So I still had to apply to USC just like any student. I talked to the coach first and then he was like, yep, we want you to apply. And then I applied. I'm not sure if this is going to be the same for every process, but this is what I did. So I had to write a personal essay, which every student applying to a US college does. I had to sit my SATs in Australia. I did need my transcript and everything from my high school. I also used my projected ATAR. Plus I still tried really, really hard in my HSC. I got a 90 ATAR and it didn't help directly get into the university, but don't just like give up on your ATAR just because you think you're going to go to college. It ended up helping me because the college admissions and the high school in Australia graduation doesn't line up. So you'll need like a projected ATAR or something, or at least I did, and it helped. The coaches should help you through the whole process, and it's honestly so complicated, so use them as much as you can. Felt like there was 10,000 things to do. My mum really helped me too. Every single document, there was like 1,000 documents my mum printed and put it in a little folder. That's also another big tip, is keeping track of all those things, because that ended up really helping. You can pay people to help you through the whole process. We didn't. I had my mum helping, which was huge, and I don't think you need to do that, especially because it is really expensive and things can start adding up, especially if you're not going to be on a full scholarship. I'm not sure it's totally worth it. It is time consuming and there's a lot of things to do, but plenty of people do it without an extra person helping. Okay, so I've written down like an order of things what to do, just so I don't forget. I'm going to read them out. Ask your school for transcripts, your high school. They'll help put one together for you, and then you'll need to include that in the email to the coaches, or at least for your application. Make sure you're hitting the requirements of the school you want. Oh, okay, so I almost ran into a problem because I didn't take science past year 10, and that was like a minimum requirement for USC, and it was about to be a problem, but then it turns out that PDHPE could work as a science as well, but it would have just been a whole lot easier if I just took a science. I needed like one more unit. Anyway, it was a whole thing, but yeah, I kind of wish I just did a science to avoid all of that. Email coaches everywhere. So research what schools are good for the sport that you're playing. And then if you're a high level player, so like the West Coast schools in California are the best at water polo. I don't know, it might change depending on what sport, but certain schools are way better at certain sports, obviously. And then on each of the schools' websites, if you go into like USC water polo, they'll have all the coaches' contacts, so use that to email. If they don't get back to you, email again. The squeaky wheel gets the oil. Include a highlight reel, a list of accolades, a short paragraph or something to explain like who you are, what you're looking for, what you're all about. It might also be helpful to add your transcript into that email just so they can get a gauge of like where you're at academically. Book in to do the SATs. I think they run a few exam blocks throughout the year. You can study for your SATs. If you're going to somewhere like Harvard or Stanford, maybe you'll need a higher SAT. I didn't study for it, but my ATAR was high enough that like it didn't really matter. I still did well, but don't totally freak out about it, and you can take the SATs more than once. I think if you like bomb the first one, you can take it a couple more times if you want. I did mine at Redlands in Sydney, Redlands Senior School, and it was fine. Also, another tip for those in high performance pathways like NSWIS or QAS or wherever it is, make sure that you're talking to your coaches there, because you don't want to burn a bridge and surprise them saying, oh, by the way, I leave for college in a couple of weeks. Like, talk to them. They're there to help you and guide you. And especially if you want to make the national team, they're gonna need to know. You can't burn that bridge. So keep your other coaches in the loop as much as possible as well. Okay, I think that's all for now. Perfect, because the sun is setting. I'll show you again. So beautiful. See it peeking over the hill. I really do hope this video helped. Going to college was so transformative for me, and I honestly do not know what my life would have looked like without it. If I've forgotten any questions, just put them in the comments and I'll reply to them, or if I left out enough, then I'll make a part 2 video. But good luck, guys. I hope this helped. Love you and see you next video.